Ladies and gentlemen, as we promised, we are going to analyze and to cover this important, crucial visit by the German foreign minister, which took place yesterday, as she was received by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And before the talks with the president, she had talks with her Egyptian counterpart, our top diplomat, Sameh Shukri, and they discussed a number of issues of mutual concern and ways to boost bilateral ties in all domains. She expressed her country's appreciation to having all the time dialogue with Egypt regarding issues of mutual concern, regional crises, in the light of the Egyptian pivotal role as a cornerstone of stability in the Middle East region and in Africa. To shed more light on this, we are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio Dr. Ahmed Osama, member of the Egyptian European Council for Foreign Affairs and our political analyst of this episode. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, the Egyptian-German ties, let's start from this. And it seems that, thank God, we do have a leap when it comes to our foreign affairs at large, and to build our foreign affairs on mutual respect and to be all the time a win-win situation for both. Yesterday's visit is one of the big examples we have, as Baerbock has chosen to have a tour in the Middle East and to end by Egypt as her first trip abroad since she assumed power just a month or something ago. Would you please, sir, elaborate on that?
Actually, the German-Egyptian relationship is a very, we have a historical and very mutual cooperation between our countries with them. The visit for Egypt in this time, definitely from the new foreign minister affairs with the new change of the government in Germany, it means that they are keen to continue and to build on what happened of cooperation between Egypt and Germany in the last few years, especially in many critical cases like Libya, for instance, and the Berlin summits, with the strong participation of Egypt and the declaration of our president to control the situation in Libya and stop the civil war as much as we can, and call for a presidential and new government, and this transitional period, hopefully that it will be done peacefully in the future. And at the same time, on the economics and investment level, we have a lot of German companies in Egypt with highly reputation working in Egypt, and they are engaged also with Egypt in the energy and power
arenas, in addition to climate change, in addition to latest technologies, you name it.
Yes.
Sir, you mentioned economy and politics in the same answer. Yes. And this is to say that they cannot be separated ever.
Yes.
Of the most important issues or points which were discussed yesterday between Annalena Baerbock and the head of state, in addition to her Egyptian counterpart, of course, is fighting terrorism, extremism, and in also putting an end to illegal migration phenomena. How do you see those two topics in specific to be on top of the agenda of talks?
It is on top because the world is aware, fully aware, that what happened of terrorism and extremism and the poverty engaged with the illiterate and the ignorance of people to understand religions and to understand the others and to coexist and to have an open relations and to understand how people think. It's crucial for the whole world. It was not only here, just in the Middle East, affecting Egypt. It was not, and it is not only in Africa or the East, Far East.
Since September 2014,
Yeah.
since the very first speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the General Assembly of the United Nations, exactly he said that. Let me put my question in other
Yes,
words,
please.
sir. Did Europe learn the lesson that if the southern side of the Mediterranean is not safe, is not secure, is not enjoying stability, they are going to be affected even more than they can imagine?
I think so. And they have to recognize this very well and to deal with it seriously. Because with Egypt and with the other side, with the north and the south of the Mediterranean, let's name it, regionally we are very close. The illegal immigration is a part of people are escaping from their lives, so they have no hope, they have no chances. They decided to die or to live everywhere or to do anything just to live.
Putting their lives in a risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this part is very important, and Egypt now, actually, and with the President Abdel Fattah Sisi, in this very critical point, he is the first president in Egypt that he is really works with a serious and tangible decisions to coexist the society, to have their feeling of the identity, the Egyptian identity. In the past, there are a lot of problems. In the past, there are a lot of problems with the churches to be registered or to get any
Among
approval.
other decisions, of course. Yes.
Decades ago. But our president now with this part is with decisions, and you know that we are, as Egypt, we are a central country. The leader is lead the country, so if he decided to do that, he will push the government and people to follow the scope. And actually in the Egyptian society we do not have ever any kind of tensions between Egyptians by any
And nobody
for
succeeded to do so. We are one
bulk,
nation.
one
Yes,
bulk.
one bulk. Amen to that.
Not two
We
tied.
are Copts.
No, we are Copts.
Egyptians,
we are
and that's it.
Egyptians.
Yeah.
So we have no discrimination at all between people, and we have already this peaceful relation. We live it. It goes without saying. But the kind of extremists played a very long time badly in targeting the young generation decades ago to spread their wrong mistakes and perspectives and understandings about religions. And once you have an extremist in a side, you will find the other side also have like every action has an equal reaction in another direction. So this kind of tensions, the people now started to get with the leadership of Al-Azhar al-Sharif, and all of our respect, and we are proud of our Grand Imam, Dr. Ahmed Tayyib, and also as the leader of Al-Azhar al-Sharif and the Imam of all Muslims. His messages and his team now is playing very important role to get back Al-Azhar into its strong era in the past.
So it's not a coincidence to have yesterday the conference of the Supreme Islamic Council hosted by Egypt and inviting people from all over the world. You would find Minister of Al-Awqaf, Dr. Muhammad Mukhtar Goma, just sitting beside a bishop from Armenia, for example. Well, but to return back to the important visit by the by the German top diplomat and her talks with the president and with her Egyptian counterpart, our top diplomat Sameh Shukri. We are very much delighted to have with us via phone Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good morning to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning to you, madam.
Mr. Ambassador, it's a very important and crucial visit in a very important timing. Annalena Berkova, the German foreign minister, decided that her very first trip after she occupied her post to be in the Middle East and to end by Egypt, meaning that Germany is building on what has been achieved before with the leap in the Egyptian-German, let's say, partnership or relations, of course, during the era of former Chancellor Angela Merkel, and the mutual visits which took place between her and the President Sisi, and discussing a number of issues of mutual concern, whether politically, on the economic arena, or even on the cultural arena. If you please elaborate on that.
Well, the visit and the discussions and the topics that were covered in the talks between President Sisi and the German foreign minister indicate that the course of German-Egyptian relations that was set back in 2015 with the visit of the former Chancellor of Germany, Mr. Angela Merkel, to Cairo in March 2015, would remain unchanged after the change of government in Berlin last September. And the talks covered bilateral relations in all fields, as well as some regional problems and the Palestinian question. Of course, as you mentioned, Madam, the visit to Egypt was part of a tour that took the German senior official to Israel, to Ramallah, and to Egypt. And that the trip or the tour is proof that the German government of Chancellor Scholz would maintain German positions vis-à-vis the issues that are of importance and relevance, whether to Egypt or to Germany. In the talks with President al-Sisi and with the Egyptian foreign minister, the question of Libya was raised, and we have to admit that there is almost an identity of views between Germany and Egypt on the course to be adopted in Libya. As far as bilateral relations are concerned, I guess the talks with President Sisi covered all fields of the bilateral relations, from the military to the security to economic, commercial, investment questions. And it seems from the statements by the German foreign minister that Germany would continue helping Egypt, assisting Egypt in implementing the objectives and targets of the sustainable economic development, Egypt Vision 2030.
Yes. And sir, also it was announced that meetings between the German and Egyptian sides are going to continue on all levels, whether on the summit level, I mean between the president and the counselor, and also on the ministerial level, on the businessman level. How do you see the continuation of these meetings on all levels, in all domains, in all fields, whether it's political, cultural, economic, business, you name it?
Well, of course, these meetings are very, very important, Madam, particularly the summit meetings between Egypt and Germany, as well as on all other levels, whether official or in the business circles. And I guess, according to the talks of yesterday, Germany and Egypt would coordinate as far as the conference that will be hosted by Egypt next November in Sharm el-Sheikh.
COP27.
Yes, COP27. And I guess this is a field, this is an area where we can benefit from German experience and German aid, Madam.
Yes. Ambassador Hussein Hariri, a former Assistant Foreign Minister. You are always an added value to our program, sir. Thank you very much for your input and have a very good day. Now we are back to Dr. Ahmed Osama Abu Doma, our political analyst of this episode of our breakfast show. Sir, among the issues which were discussed yesterday between the German Foreign Minister, whether with President Sisi or with her Egyptian counterpart, our top diplomat Sami Shukri, is the file of Ukraine, for example. Yes. The Ukrainian crisis, and which is putting the whole world on edge as there are provocative deeds, if we may say so, on the border with 100,000 Russian troops on the border between Russia and Ukraine. But it's not in the Middle East, but it's not in Africa. Consulting Egypt in such a matter is saying to what extent Egypt is a heavyweight country, and to have Egypt as one of the strategic partnership in dialogue in general with a big country like Germany is indicating a lot. What are the messages?
It reflects first of all how Germany and Europe and the world is evaluating and recognizing the weight and the value of Egypt as a central and one of the key players worldwide politically. And the Egyptian foreign policy, and also how it managed the situation now in Egypt in fighting terrorism, in the development in the economy and the stability of Egypt with the military, and also with cooperation, international cooperation with Germany and other countries like France, United States. Also with the Russian we have good relations, and with the Ukraine,
China, Russia, Ukraine,
and the president and his crew in the foreign affairs are playing a very impressive and very hard work on all sides, in Africa, in Europe, they are moving very passionately and influenced everywhere. So once they started to discuss this with Egypt, they know well that Egypt is one of the very successful countries in how first of dealing with the critical situations. For instance, first of all, the visit to Ramallah or Israel and visiting Egypt, they know well that Egypt is a key player in this historical crisis. Second is the refugees in Egypt. We have huge numbers, millions of from different countries are living in Egypt, but they are not in camps for refugees.
Enjoying all the rights of the citizens.
As the citizens, and they have enjoying staying in Egypt and working and living and having the support of the government. So this situation, hopefully that this critical situation between Russia and
Ukraine and the West, to be accurate.
And the West, because now it's a challenging time, and all of the world in very different parts. We have a lot of violence, we have a lot of victims everywhere. And the fights is for what? For controlling, for more benefit.
A show of strength, let's say it.
A show of strength, but now I think after this long time all over the history, we have to look forward that you are not living alone. That the successful country is not the one who is only a strong country economically or politically, but the one who has the influence everywhere and building the networking globally to work together and for cooperation, not for confrontation. This is what we are hoping, that the situation on the foreign affairs, and to find solutions for all of the challenging positions, like for Egypt and Ethiopia. You will find the situation started to be more complicated, and at the same time more for asking from the other side for discussion. And Egypt, with stubborn decisions in the hard time is very important.
Sticking to preserving our rights.
Yes, for instance, like in Libya, when the president said that Sirte and Jafra is the red line, and he visited our military in this part, it means this means war.
Then he sent a very important message: be ready to execute any mission, whether inside our borders or outside our borders if needed.
Yes.
Well, sir, let me return to that and to return to our diplomacy, because you mentioned a very important issue, which is the success of the Egyptian diplomacy in all domains, and how we do well know how to negotiate and how to gain what we want or to reach our goals through perfect, distinguished, marvelous ways of negotiations. In the same time, sticking to our stance. Our stance against Libya is the same, putting the sovereignty and integrity of Libya as first priority. Same stance regarding the Palestinian cause, helping the Palestinians to have an independent Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital. And I intend to say Al-Quds, New Jerusalem. Taking into consideration all these situations all over the years, how do you see these very solid stances, as you've kindly mentioned, as a way to gain more respect by the whole world regarding the Egyptian way of dealing with the surrounding crises?
It's the truth and the stability in your principles with a critical historical situations all over the time and history, the ethics, the ethical position of Egypt as from in the Palestinian situation, and it's one of the national security for Egypt and for all parts, as we have a holy mosque for Muslims and for Christians, and for sure we are not denying that there are a Jewish part for them.
That is the city of all religions?
Yes, as President Sadat said that in the past. So our position is very respectful to continue in our way, that we need an independent Palestinian country. With the Libyan, we need internal peace, independent Libya, get out and take over from all of the troops, external troops trying to influence Libyan security, and looking for a united Libya, not to be divided or not to having a continuous of civil war. So this stability of our positions in these critical situations everywhere, it gave us more of respectful and trust.
Credibility.
And the credibility from the world.
Yeah. Sir, one final question regarding an important topic which was discussed yesterday in the talks which took place, COP27, climate change. Yeah. And it's also saying that we are preparing for this important summit maybe a year before it's going to take place in the Red Sea Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, inshallah, in November later this year. And also to build on what President Sisi did in Brest in France when he participated upon an invitation by his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron in the One Ocean Summit, and he also seized the opportunity to invite all the leaders who were there to join Egypt in this very important gathering. Also, how do you see the importance of this issue?
The climate change is a very important and crucial issue worldwide now. And as we mentioned, the cooperation and the presidential invitation for all parts. And now I think how many conferences hosted by Egypt on a very prestigious level and successful managing with a diplomatic and a kind of credibility, and it shows people how Egypt is great in showing and respecting and hosting and managing these kind of celebrations,
Gatherings.
shows, gatherings, conferences, and
Forums, initiatives.
yes, and bringing out of it the outputs of these conferences is to set points of actions, to take actions after the recommendations of all of these conferences. So it shows them how strategically Egypt is working now. It's not the conference, not the next week. No, it is after, since in 1 year it will be held. So now, and this is how they are working abroad, by the way. They in the past they were on the diplomatic relations. We find them once we can organize a conference in 2 days, for instance. We are the Egyptians. We can do anything, and you can expect any good things from the Egyptians. So they surprised because they said if we were gonna do that in Germany, it will take 1 year. So now we are talking with them with the same language and with the same kind of level of managing, planning, taking actions to put Egypt, and now Egypt is really appreciated with not Germany only, but
The whole
globally.
world.
The whole world is respecting the Egyptian positions politically and ethically, and with respecting people without any kind of discrimination, and respecting human rights, and at the same time religiously we have also our clear points and clean, and once people is trying to invade the levels, it is forbidden by the Egyptian people and the Egyptian government. And
There is no contradictions between having mutual respect and in the same time not to let anyone intrude into the internal affairs of our country. Simply, we do not do so, so we are expecting the same to be followed. Well, Dr. Ahmed Osama Abu Duma, member of the Egyptian European Council for Foreign Affairs and our political analyst of this episode of our breakfast show. Thank you very much, sir, for your input. We are going to leave you with a promise to see you in more episodes of our programs.
It's our pleasure always. Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you, sir. Right after the short break, we are going to turn back with more, so stay tuned.